One after another this morning, Democrats are coming out and saying, "Nah, that's it. I'm with them on impeachment. It's time." And then, and I mean, this is pretty extraordinary. First, you start out with these 7 Democrats who were then joined by the 7 Democrats initially who wrote the op-ed: Jill Cisneros of California, or Gil, excuse me, Jason Crow of Colorado, Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania, Elaine Luria of Virginia, Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey, Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan, and Abigail Spanberger of Virginia. And then after that was published, Angie Craig and Dean Phillips of Minnesota said, "Sign me up." And then Vicente Gonzalez of Texas and John Larson of Connecticut jumps in. And as I mentioned, this is from a great roundup piece by Joan McCarter over at Daily Kos. And then this morning, Antonio Delgado of New York and Colin Allred of Texas, and Michigan's Haley Stevens. Perhaps most importantly, Rosa DeLauro, from Connecticut. I mean, the big money state, a solid member of the political establishment, kind of Nancy Pelosi's friend and colleague, and they share a perspective, came right out and said, "This is a reckless abuse of power. This is a turning point. Congress must meet this pivotal moment in our nation's history with decisive actions." And then we hear that then people are going back and they're starting to read the transcript of Mike Pence's September 2nd press conference. Now, this was almost 3 weeks ago. Trump was supposed to go to Poland. Remember, he backed out of that thing, and so he sent Mike Pence instead, and Pence goes to Poland, and he holds a press conference. And at the press conference, now keep in mind, this is right after this is before Trump has released the money. The money was released on September 14th. This is September 2nd. But this is after Trump has said to Mick Mulvaney, his chief of staff, put on hold that money, which apparently was running through the State Department, and, Mike Pompeo. After that was put on hold, and after he had a phone call with the president of Ukraine, at least one phone call, and perhaps many more. I mean, the whistleblower complaint is alleged to have 8 different instances of Trump breaking the law this way and committing treason this way. After Trump has threatened the president of Ukraine with not getting that money unless he does what Trump wants. Find me some dirt on Joe Biden, or make it up if you have to. Keep in mind, Trump's campaign manager, his original campaign manager, used to work in Ukraine, Paul Manafort, and is sitting in jail right now because of the stuff he did in Ukraine. And his assistant campaign manager, Rick Gates, is awaiting sentencing. And his national security advisor, Mike Flynn, who was and Trump knew this, by the way, was actually working as a paid agent of a foreign government, in this case it was Turkey, while he was being national security advisor. He's on his way to jail for this. So anyhow, Pence comes out on September 2nd in this press conference, and they said, "Well, what'd you talk about?" He says, "Well, I talked with Ukrainian President Zelensky, and we, quote, discussed America's support for Ukraine and the upcoming decision the president will make on the latest tranche of financial support. We discussed that in great detail," Pence said. "But as President Trump had me make clear," in other words, Trump threatens the president of Ukraine, and then Pence holds a press conference a week later and does so publicly. "As President Trump had me make clear, we have great concerns about issues of corruption." Now, corruption is a code word for find me some dirt on Joe Biden and his son. And if you can't find it, manufacture it. And then Pence goes on to say, "That's an expectation the American people have, and the president has expressed very clearly." So you've got Pence in on this. Pompeo is apparently in on this. Bill Barr is the guy who is orchestrating the cover-up, just like he did in 1992 around Iran-Contra. The Reagan campaign's deal with the Iranians: "We'll sell you weapons if you'll hold those hostages so that Jimmy Carter loses the election." We've got the testimony of the former president of Iran, Mr. Bani Sadr, on that. So in 1992, when Elliot Abrams and Ollie North and 3 other people were about to go to jail for this, the Attorney General, William Barr, said to the outgoing president, this was Christmas Eve of 1992, George Herbert Walker Bush had already lost the election to Bill Clinton. He was going to be in office for another couple of weeks. And what does he do? He pardons all of them. Why did he pardon them? Because Bill Barr said this will shut down the investigation. What did the special prosecutor, Lawrence Walsh, who was looking into Iran-Contra, looking into the crimes committed by the Reagan-Bush administration, what did he say? He went to the New York Times and he said, this is a cover-up. Bill Barr just engineered a cover-up. And sure enough, he did. And sure enough, it worked. Well, Bill Barr's doing it again. And so now you've got John Dean out there. He just tweeted, you know, if you're going to impeach Trump, you need to impeach Bill Barr and Mike Pompeo as well. And I would add, it looks like Mike Pence is up to his eyeballs in this. Now, you'll remember back in the 1990s when Clinton was being impeached, the guy driving that train was Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich was just, foaming at the mouth about this. Now, keep in mind, after Newt left the floor of the House to yell and scream about Bill Clinton's morals, he'd go back to his office where his wife was safely at home, his second wife. He'd go back to his office where he'd meet with Calista, who he was having an affair with, and they'd be getting it on in the office or someplace nearby. I mean, Newt Gingrich was actually having an affair during this time, as was Bob Barr, the congressman from Georgia, who was the floor leader, as was Mr. Livingston, Representative Livingston, I'm forgetting his first name, I think it was Mike, who was having an affair. I mean, the entire Republican, all these Republican men in the House of Representatives who were leading the impeachment of Bill Clinton for lying about having sex with Monica Lewinsky, I believe all of them, there might be one who wasn't, were having affairs at the time. So anyhow, Newt Gingrich is like, oh boy, this is so cool. We're going to take down Bill Clinton. And by the way, can we get Al Gore in on this too? Remember, they were investigating what did Al Gore know and when did he know it? I mean, this so offended Al Gore, so freaked him out, that when he ran for president in 2000, he wouldn't even take any help from Bill Clinton, which, I think probably would have helped him a lot. But why was Newt trying so hard to drag Al Gore into this? Well, because the Constitution says if you can take down the president and the vice president, guess who becomes president? The Speaker of the House. And that was Newt Gingrich. Interesting how things go around, huh? Amazing. Pence, this is the headline over at Raw Story. Pence knew about and actually participated in Trump's apparent Ukraine extortion plot. And then Rudy Giuliani last night on Hannity saying, "Oh no, this came from Mike Pompeo. I wasn't over there in the Ukraine offering threats and bribes to the president of Ukraine on behalf of Donald Trump. Yes, I'm his personal lawyer, but I didn't go as his lawyer. I went on behalf of the State Department." So Trump has corrupted the State Department too, Mike Pompeo? Here's exactly what happened last night on Hannity. Sean Hannity says, did our State Department ask you to go on a mission for them? And Rudy Giuliani replies, they did. The State Department called me and said, would I take a call from Mr. Yermak, who's number 2 or 3 to the president-elect, who is now the president? I wasn't operating on my own. I was operating at the request of the State Department. Rudy Giuliani last night. So now we see that the corruption, that this sick, twisted corruption of Donald Trump, the guy, this guy who's basically, been a mobbed up real estate guy his whole life and a con man running cons like Trump University where they literally convicted him of fraud. And he paid a $25 million fine for it. That this con man has brought the State Department into his con. It's breathtaking. So the Democrats are all going to get together at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And frankly, as I said in the last hour, I think that probably at the top of their agenda is going to be, how do we deal with the Director of National Intelligence if he refuses to give us this whistleblower request, as the law required him doing 2 weeks ago. And he's still in violation of the law. How do we deal with this? Are we going to bring out inherent contempt? Because we can't run a criminal contempt. It has to go through Bill Barr. We can't run civil contempt because that goes through the courts and can take 2 or 3 years. Can we do inherent contempt? They're going to be discussing that and the impeachment process.